Hi there, I'm Angela.
And I'm Natalie.
And we are
Blondetourage.
Here for a movie reaction. Today we're going to be reacting to the movie,
The Coffee Table.
Now, we're going to start out with a non-spoiler review and then kind of go into the territory of spoiling the movie. And we'll let you know when that happens. You can shut it off if you haven't watched it and you want to be surprised. But I had told Natalie that I had been seeing people all over TikTok talk about this movie and how hard of a watch it was.
And I'd never heard of it before. And she told me about it, and I didn't read one thing about it. I didn't watch any review on it, nothing. I didn't even read the synopsis on the IMDb, which is...
Jesus and Maria are a couple going through a difficult time in their relationship. Nevertheless, they have just become parents. To shape their new life, they decide to buy a new coffee table, a decision that will change their existence.
It was interesting going into it blind because she had said so many people are reacting to it. And when I hear that, I'm like, okay, if something's going viral for a reason, it's got to be something nuts has to happen.
Now, I, on the other hand, unfortunately had it spoiled for me, so I knew what the big event was. But before we talk about that, let's just tell the audience how we felt about watching the movie.
Well, in my letterboxd, I believe I wrote something like, this movie made me completely nauseous, but I loved it, or something like that. Something to that extent.
And my take on it, which I'll get to more detail about this later, it was like a permanent anxiety attack.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. If you want to be disturbed, this is the movie for you. I will say it's subtitled. It didn't bother me at all.
Oh, that's right.
Normally it does.
Yeah, it was, it actually came out 2 years ago in Spain, I believe. It is a Spanish film, like you said, and but it just released this year and recently on Amazon Prime. Now, if you like chamber pieces, movies that have a few characters in it, a few locations. Actually, I think there was only 2 locations.
Yeah.
No, maybe 3. It's
3.
Yeah.
You'll have to get to it during the spoiler.
Yeah. It's not a big deal.
The store in the apartment. That's what.
The store, the grocery store.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, you're so smart.
Oh, thank you. And in the hallway too of the apartment complex.
Yeah.
But honestly, I would say 95% of the film is taken place in this apartment. And there's just a few characters, and you know, it just, those kind of films just make you feel so uncomfortable and claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I think.
I'll agree with that.
So I think that is also another reason why this film is very disturbing. Now, it's not disturbing like, you know, a Serbian film,
right,
or like Martyrs or anything like that. It is disturbing almost like, and I compared this when I talked to Angela about it on the phone, I thought it reminded me of Shiva Baby, which is excellent. And if you haven't seen it, it's another one of those like dark comedy horrors, but it's not like horror, like where it's going to jump out and scare you or anything like that. It's just anxiety inducing.
Yes.
You feel constant dread, like something is going to, you know, go down and you're just waiting for it to happen.
That was it. Waiting and waiting and waiting and becoming more anxious and more uneasy. Yep. Oh, let's just talk about the actors in this film real quick. I don't know if I'm going to say his name right, but David Perea, who plays Jesus. What a pathetic...
Oh, wow.
It was such a good performance, but he portrayed that pathetic character so desperate to figure out what he is going to do, how he is going to do it. There's so much dread surrounding him, and I felt for him so much, but he did such a wonderful job.
They were all excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, but his performance was phenomenal.
Yep.
And it's mostly him.
It really is. But his wife, Maria Estefania de los Santos, she was amazing. One thing about her was that deep, gravelly, raspy voice when she was laughing. And like, that's another thing that made me uneasy about it. Like, even her laughter. I was like, holy cow. You want to say anything about the supporting characters?
Yes, I do. There is a neighbor, and it is some of the most cringe-worthy stuff that goes on in the film with her. She's fantastic. And it was funny. And it was like, but cringy.
Yes.
It was like, oh my gosh. She was excellent, though. One more thing I want to say before we start talking spoilers is if you have certain triggers, I have no affiliation with this app or this website. It's called Does the Dog Die? And it is all about different triggers, not just dogs, but that is a big trigger for me. And I need to know, if something happens to animals, before I go into a film, and I need to know when to hold my ears or close my eyes. But there is a major incident in this film that can trigger many people. And I don't want people to go into this blind if they have this trigger. So if you have certain triggers and you're very nervous that it might be in this film, please go to this website and just type it in. It'll tell you.
All right. Are you ready to get to the spoilers?
Absolutely.
Okay. Turn it off if you don't want to know. So, Jesus and Maria go to it starts out with them in a store, and the slimy salesman is trying to sell them on this coffee table and making it sound like it's so amazing. Jesus wants it. Maria thinks it's ridiculous, ends up getting it. Make a long story short, she decides to go out shopping because his brother and girlfriend are coming over later that night for dinner. So he's left alone with the baby. He's missing a screw. He's missing a screw for the table. So
and the table's unbreakable, according to the sales.
The glass is unbreakable.
Yeah, the glass is unbreakable.
So the baby is crying. The glass is not put on the table, and you see them in the shot in the hallway, and then they move out of the shot where he's comforting and holding the babies, trying to get him to stop crying. And then all of a sudden you hear the sound of glass shattering and no more baby crying. There you have it.
My jaw hit the ground. I knew something bad was going to happen. But, and you knew that something was going to happen.
I knew something was going to happen with the baby.
Yeah.
I knew that they were going to lose the baby, but I didn't know how. But when that happened, I was still shocked. And it was so like, oh my God.
I felt sick.
I know. And then we get to see his reaction, which is pure terror and dread and fear, and he's looking at the blood on the carpet, on the couch, on the glass, and he cut his hand.
Yeah.
And he lifts up the baby, and at this point he takes the baby and puts it, didn't he change the diaper too?
He changed the diaper. Oh God, that upset me.
I know. He brought the baby into the crib and laid it down, but then he goes back into the room and he kneels down. You can talk about this.
We don't see it explicitly, but since the baby was decapitated, the head had rolled underneath an armchair. And it was just, you kind of like just saw something round in a shadow, and it was just awful.
When he put his hand, that one scene when he was putting his hand so slowly underneath, and then he recoiled.
Yeah.
It was, oh my gosh. So now his wife's at the store. She has no idea. And, we have to go back a little bit because the neighbor, the little cringy neighbor, she has this fantasy in her mind that she and Jesus are like having this affair.
Yeah.
And she says she's going to tell the wife at like whatever time that day.
She's going to blackmail him.
She's going to blackmail him.
Okay.
That was so weird. But now he's like, what the heck am I going to do? And for the rest of the movie, she doesn't find out until like the last 5 minutes. They have the brother over. The brother doesn't find out until the last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and the whole thing is just anticipation of how everyone is going to find out that this baby is no longer alive.
Yeah, he keeps everybody out of the bedroom, says, I had a hard time getting the baby to go to sleep and this and that. And another cringy aspect of this is Maria, she is an older woman. So I assumed that this was their miracle baby. They both were older characters. I mean, they had toys for the child from the 80s. So, they were kind of like a little bit older. So it was probably not as easy to have this child. So that just made me feel bad.
Even the conversation at the dinner table, I mean, I know that 𝐥𝐤𝐬𝐷 was obviously dealing with this crazy situation that happened, but the conversation just didn't seem or feel natural. 𝐥𝐤𝐬𝐷 didn't say much at all.
Right.
But, I mean, she just kept busting his chops about the coffee table, and it was like just drilling how stupid of a decision it was.
I know. And he probably felt awful, like for other reasons, obviously, but just like that, just the extra salt on the wound.
Yeah.
And another really cringy discussion at the dinner table was Carlos, the brother, announcing that him and his girlfriend are having a baby. And just see 𝐥𝐤𝐬𝐷 just sitting there, and I think doesn't he think they have a little, he's like not happy for him, so he says something.
I can't remember. It was just, and I think the reason that I can't remember is because I was so focused on my anxiety. If we fast forward to the last 10 minutes when 𝐥𝐤𝐬𝐷 goes into the bathroom because he's contemplating unaliving himself.
Right.
Because he doesn't know any other way out of this. He was talking to himself, right? And the brother overheard him.
Or I think he was leaving a message.
That's right. That's
like
right.
in a note.
That's right.
Or something.
And the brother heard him and he goes, what are you talking about? So he takes him and he shows him, and the brother just like loses it. All of a sudden, the doorbell rings. So cringy neighbor comes in and she tells her about it, and all of a sudden at this point, like, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
And she brings her little dog with her. I don't mean to laugh, but this is why it's a dark comedy. The dog goes under the armchair and grabs the baby's head, and all of a sudden the girlfriend of the brother, she pukes her brains out, and it was just
a mess.
It was chaos. And then, if you want to know the ending, she ends up, you don't know until the very kind of last scene, but she ends up unaliving herself.
They both do.
They do. But, yeah. So,
yeah.
It was very sad.
Very sad.
There was not 1 minute from even the beginning of the film with the sleazy salesman. I was anxious there.
Yeah,
I was
definitely
anxious when the friend in the supermarket, when they called back home. I was anxious with the cringy neighbor. The entire film gave me anxiety. Waiting.
The funny thing is, you were talking about the grocery store and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of this film, they talk about how, you're having kids? Well, just wait till they get to this age and this and that. It was all about kind of like negativity towards children. Like almost the theme of the film was like that. And
oh gosh. It was really a good film. I didn't have any problems with it.
Nope.
I thought it was like a near perfectly made film.
Yes.
And
I'll never see it again.
No, I would never see it again either. But it was definitely worth the watch. And thank you to everybody out on TikTok who was talking about it, because
we wouldn't have known.
We wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
So
if you've seen the coffee table, please let us know what you thought in the comments.
Thank you so much for watching our reaction to the coffee table. We are Blondetourage. Please remember to like
and subscribe.
See you soon.
Bye.